Hello everyone and welcome back. We'll look at the last question on for loops. Before we do that, we mentioned in the last lecture that we can prompt a user to enter a string and use the program that we built to find out the length of each word. Let's do that. So instead of this input, we can use the raw input function and prompt the user to enter a string. Raw input, enter your string now. We can do that. For Python 3 users, use the function input. Okay, now we can run this. It says enter your string now. This program will count the length of each word and place it in the appropriate list. This should be nice. Okay, let's run it. So enter your string now. We have our string, which is this, and then words with length 3 in our list. In our string, these are the words. Words with length 4 looks good. Length 5, 6, 7. Words with length less than 3, and the rest of the words, we have those. So we can do that also. And after the statement, to look it nicer, we can add a line, print, let's say this, times 17 or 16. Then if we run it again, let me just copy some of this to save some time. So we can copy that, Command C, paste it here, Command V. Let me remove this big space. Okay, and run it. So enter your string now. We have our string. Then words with length 3, 4, and so on. So that's the line break. This is the line that we added. It looks like it's a little bit much. So we can make this 15 or 14 and run it again. Let's paste it. Remove the space and run it, and it looks much better now. Okay, now let's check question number 5. So it says define two variables, punctuation and numbers as shown below. So I have already included that. A variable containing punctuations and a variable containing numbers. Then prompt a user to enter a string with a combination of numbers, punctuations, and characters or alphabets, and use a for loop and if statements to find out if the character is a number, alphabet, or punctuation mark, and print out a string of all the numbers, punctuations, and alphabets. So for instance, let's say the user enters this string. It's the last week of November and it's called with a bunch of numbers and punctuations. So what we'll do is we'll check each individual character, each individual element in the string. So we'll start with I and then T, then apostrophe S, and so on. And if each of this character is not in punctuation or numbers list, we'll add it to our string for alphabets only. And if it's in the punctuations string, we'll add it to our string to contain punctuations. And if any of these characters are numbers, we'll add it to our numbers string. So we'll start by creating 3 empty strings for alphabets, numbers, and punctuations. and we'll use a for loop to check each of these elements in our string and place them in their appropriate string. And finally, we'll print out all the alphabets, all the numbers, and a string containing all the punctuations. Okay, let's look at the solution. So I'll run that cell, and let's start by prompting the user to enter a string, and we'll save their prompt message in a variable called myString equal to raw input, and then we'll ask them, please enter your string now. And then we'll create our 3 empty strings, one for alphabets, and we'll store it in a variable called alphabets only. And let's do the same for numbers and punctuations, and I'll save them in numbers only. And for punctuations only. Okay, next let's use our for loop. You can say for character, so we are checking each individual character. For character in our string myString, which is the prompt message, whatever they enter. So for each character in myString, so the first thing we'll do is check if the character is in this punctuations and number string. So we can say if character is not in punctuations and character is not in numbers. So if it's not in either of those two, we'll save it in alphabets only string. So we'll add it to that string. So we can say alpha only is equal to alpha only plus the character. So we start out with an empty string, and then we'll add an alphabet to that empty string. So we'll keep adding. And let's do the same for the other two strings here, numbers only and then punctuation only. Elif character is in numbers. So if it's in our numbers string, we'll add it to that string, to the numbers only. Numbers only is equal to num only plus character. And let's check if it's in punctuations. Elif character in punctuations, we'll add it to the punc only string. Punc only is equal to punctuation only plus character. And for everything else, we'll just print out a message else. Let's print out something for the user. Let's print out, I don't know what that character is, or something like that. Okay, so this will be printed out for each character that the program doesn't know. And once we have that, we can print out all the strings now. So we can print alphabets, you can say that, and then our string alpha only, and print numbers num only, and finally we can print punctuations or punctuation then punct only. Let's run it. Okay, please enter your string now. Let's say it's called today, and I wonder if it would get any colder. Okay, enter. Oh, card. Oh, this shouldn't be card, this should be car. Let's run it again. Okay, please enter your string now. 45, it's called today, around 24 currently, and I wonder if it would get any colder, and some characters and numbers. Okay, enter. Okay, now we have alphabets. So we have a string containing our alphabets and numbers, and finally punctuations. That looks good. Another thing we can do is let's include a line so that it looks nicer and we can see it clearly. Let's say that times 15, and we can add a line break in between each of the print statements. So print some lines times 15. Let me copy this and paste it underneath this too, and run it again. Let's say it's called at the moment, and it looks like it will get colder or something. Okay, and run it. Okay, please enter your string now. We have our string alphabets. So we have our alphabets, then numbers and punctuations. So it's neat. So to see what we did here, we started by prompting the user to enter their string, and then we created empty strings for letters, numbers, and punctuations, and for each character the user enters, we check if that character is not in punctuations and numbers list. So we have our punctuations and numbers, and if that character is not in these two strings, we place it in our alphabet only string, and we keep adding to this empty string. So that's the first if condition, elif character in numbers. So if the character the user enters is in our number string, we add it to the numbers only string, and we keep adding to that string. And finally, if it's in the punctuation string here that we defined, we add it to the punc only string. So we keep adding to one of these three strings for each character. So that's what this for loop and if statement does. And finally, we print out our three strings: alphabet only, number only, and punctuation only. Note that we did not include these print statements inside the for loop. Otherwise, it would give us a bunch of these results. It would give us, let's say, it will say alphabets, and then it will say I, and then another one, alphabets, it will show us T, and so on. So that's why we did not include this print statements inside this for loops and if statements, because we only want to print out the last string containing a list of all the elements in the appropriate group. Because if we include the print statement here, it will print out, let's say, the first character A. It will say alphabet only, alphabets and then A, and then alphabets and then T, alphabets S. So it will print out this line for each individual character here, and it does the same for numbers and punctuations. That's why we did not include it inside the for loop. Great. Another thing we could have done is we can define our string. So instead of prompting the user, we can simply, let's say, let me copy this, Command C. So I'll comment this one and then paste the other string. So we can define our string like this, and then we can simply run it. So if I run that, it gives me a list containing our alphabet string, numbers, and punctuations. We can do that also. Great. Thank you, everyone, and I'll see you next time.